Hey guys, Justin Brock here with Medicare Gurus, and today we're bringing another interview of somebody that I've been admiring from afar. That is on Facebook doing some, different things, some cool stuff, and has a lot of momentum and potential ahead of him. Guy by the name of Adam Westfall, and Adam is in the risk management game. He uses our insurance and financial services field to go into businesses and help. Clear up some confusion, free up some capital so that they can better use it to expand and grow their business, and is getting really creative in his approach, which is different than, what I'm seeing in a lot of places. And so I wanted to bring him on here, talk to him, figure out what he's doing. One more plug for him. He is the number one bestseller in the risk management category on Amazon. And so you can check out his book, and I'll let him plug that here in just a minute. But Adam, what's going on, man?
Shoot, man, just another week ahead of us. Appreciate the intro.
Yeah.
I don't think my book's number one anymore, but it was.
It was. Hey, that's all that counts.
Right.
No,
I got screenshots.
It's like being a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Once number one, always number one. So yeah, man. So awesome. And I see you're working on some publishing things with books too, and you shared some stuff just before this call that I'll definitely take and see if it'll help us too. So you definitely learned a lot in that process, but getting back to what you are doing and like, what's your approach with businesses? Cause I think that's, an interesting thing to unpack to take the approach to go in and try to help them free up capital, where you're not really saying, hey, I want to rewrite your insurance, even though that could be part of it. You're saying, hey, I want to make sure we're freeing up as much capital as possible. Tell me about that approach and how successful you've been in that.
Well, I initially started in the B2B space. I was just Aflac. That's where I got my start, and I did pretty well with that. And then, kind of life circumstances, I kind of drifted more towards the individual side, because that seemed like one you could do more remote, and that's kind of just what I wanted to do. I read Jeff Root's book. Have you ever read that one? And was like, oh, okay. So I wanted to try that. Went down that route. Medicare seemed like the best option to cross-sell with that, because I was doing the final expense thing. So I did all that. I've worked across all life and health kind of markets, but I came back to the B2B side, because what really got me back was last open enrollment season. My buddy and I acquired a book of business for like ACA, individual health insurance people, and you probably work with some of them, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of people kind of like myself, like small business owners that don't have group coverage. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and like, again, that's where I had the most success. Like, it wasn't all those other like sales processes. I was like really scripted and straight line Jordan Belfort. I took that training, really good. But working with these people is like all natural for me. I know they were an existing book, but it just felt like I was just doing what I knew how to do, like talking to them, just like I used to talk with employees about their major medical, and then like the supplemental, the life, the disability that they could get to. And so I was like, I think I am better off working kind of with people more like myself. What do they say? Do what you love. You never work a day in your life. So you don't want to spend all your time, replicating a process that you don't enjoy. And so, like
same accord, when I'm talking to people locally, the friends, only friends that I can really resonate with outside of the insurance world are people that own businesses locally, because they understand, what we do, or a little bit more, or they get like the process of owning your own business and going out and eating what you kill. And so I think probably when you're having that conversation, you're more often going to find people in that are like we are. So
yeah, and I there was a lot of, because I came from doing the group side of things. So like that was my first kind of sales process. So with them, like they needed short-term disability, which was like a thing that I thrived on in the group side of things. Like that was an easy cross sell. Like you just, oh, we got you a discount. Why don't you add some, you know, your bills cut from 600 a month to 60 a month. You should probably get some short-term disability. Is like, it's pretty easy. Yeah. And a lot of them don't have like any retirement plan in place because they just never set one up because there's nobody getting commissions off of those things. So you have to actually go and physically set up like a self-directed or a solo, just so you gotta, I don't know. It was fun working with it, but that's also, you need a lot of people to scale that thing. And then gotta hire people. So, which I'll do that down the road. But, you know, you posted it, I think a couple months ago in your group chat, you said you're paid based off the value you bring. And I was like, damn right.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? And so I just kind of started doing more research and digging in. It's a really good book I read. You ever read The Wedge?
No.
Really good. This guy's, so I have it in here. Which one? This one.
The Wedge. Who's the author?
Randy Schwantz. He's more of a, you learn a lot from the property and casualty guys, because that is a whole nother ballgame. Like their tech and all their stuff is like years ahead of the health insurance.
I think they've evolved it because when you think about I want to sell a product that everybody needs, and PNC fits that more. Whereas health and life and Medicare, there's a lot of diversity in that, you know, and so.
Right. Well, that and like PNC is worldwide. That's yeah. You know, so, and a lot of those guys do life, but specifically health insurance guys, they're like the most hesitant people to try and cross sell things like they should. But, but I learned I think he also, I don't know, I got an ad popped up. I watched his hour webinar and then was like, what's this guy? And then like all his books are super expensive, but like probably the most valuable books on like insurance agency building. And so the Wedge was really just, it kind of opened me up to thinking like, okay, going in with insurance, like because I've been there with the B2B kind of thing is just like, once you represent yourself as that is, I mean, it's like a real estate agent. It's like, you can't tell the difference. Right. So what kind of wedge are you going to drive between them and their broker? Like everyone's going to say better coverage, lower price type of deal, but everyone's affiliated with the same brokers or the same insurance companies. Like, yeah, if you've had more experience, maybe you have like your CIC, you can get some prices cut, but really it kind of opened me up as I was digging in and just talking with people. I do that a lot. I'll go down rabbit holes and just kind of get in touch with people all over the place. And the idea of risk management came up. I was like, well, my book was #1 bestseller in risk management. And it makes a lot of sense because like when you do your insurance license, the first thing it tells you is like insurance is the transfer of risk. Mm-hmm. So digging more into risk management and kind of what you can do is there's a huge problem in businesses, both on the PNC side, which actually more so when you talk about total cost of risk, that's kind of the metric that you go for in risk management. People typically just quantify it by like what your premiums are and then like your loss runs if you're doing PNC, or healthcare is a little different. That's more just straight up. There's like an HR budget that they have that each person is this much, whatever. Okay. I don't do PNC yet. Actively looking for someone that can help with that, but I kind of just dug in and was like, how can I figure out how to bring that to the table? And just kind of came across more people, came across some software where the biggest issue for someone in a C-suite position, like at a bigger company, is the bottom line, right? It's like profitability. Mm-hmm. So that's like That's what they want to know. Everyone's saying we can do this, 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 and just like kind of bullshitting like a salesperson, but not really putting their money where their mouth is, like showing somebody on paper, well, here's your losses, like your direct losses and your premiums and maybe your admin and your taxes. A lot of people, bigger companies have like self-insured programs, but they're not able to quantify really like the indirect loss costs, which is actually way bigger and something that you can more so knock down, because like health insurance premiums aren't going down, that's going up every year. Right. So if we're focusing on the cost of health insurance, like, it's, and there's a lot of nitpicky things in the group game that I had to come back and learn again. But like, you can't, if you have a broker record and then you allow another broker to go like shop rates for you, and the carrier finds out that there's multiple brokers shopping for you, and your broker record was this person, like they won't give you those discounts. Like, there's all these little rules on that. I don't even want to play that price game. Like and so we come back to like the impact of a business. Like if, we talk about the EBITDA, and like, you got to get educated and understand financials and know how to read a financial statement, and basically look at how much financial leakage they have based off of their industry, their typical profit margins, kind of run an estimate. And then you more so figure out solutions, really be a business consultant. And in the group game, there's not just the insurance piece, and that's not even what I represent myself as. I'm just finding out like what their business goals are, and figuring out what's holding them back, what's just really figuring out everything that's going on in the business, because you need to know what's going on with the HR, you need to know what's going on with the CFO, with the risk management team if they have one, because you're pretty savvy with marketing and knowing that stuff too. And just, I guess, business operations within your own business, which I have too, and I used to. There's other things that you can bring to the table as well that they might not be seeing, as a consultant. So it's good to come in from the outside. So not only can you provide that value, I can provide, HR technology solutions, which is a big hot button issue right now for, I think the bigger companies have it, but a lot of the, I don't know, right in the middle kind of companies, maybe like 250 to 500, still don't have like a good onboarding software system that tracks payroll, keeps them like in compliance with ACA and everything. So like, that's a solution that you partner up with the right, GA or somebody, or you got a good connection, you could bring that service in for like free. And so you could probably eliminate like 2 HR jobs and like have better software. And as everybody's going remote and everything, like, it just makes sense. But a lot of people won't implement it because like you get stuck in your business and, oh, we've done it this way. So you can't really talk about that with HR. Like, to them, you're trying to appeal to like, let's make the job better. To a CFO, it's like, let's cut some costs and let's be more efficient with the business. So you really,
we've run into this where like, a lot of insurance agents, and there, obviously there are some legalities in individual insurance sales, and like when you do consulting fee-based stuff, but with businesses, it can be completely different. And so we ran into a group insurance company, and now we're starting to look for other ones that they want to introduce us to their large groups and medium-sized groups to come in and do Medicare education. And a lot of these are like they're the stop loss insurer for self-insured groups.
Yep.
And you come in and you do Medicare education. And so legally you can't, entice them to get off, right, but you can educate them. And if they decide that they're better off on their own accord going, getting off of the group plan, then that can save the group a lot of money.
Yep.
But what we found is the groups and the insurance companies are willing to pay us consulting fees to do it, whether they sign up or not. Because you might think like, well, I'm going to go in, but a lot of these people that are getting free coverage are just going to say, well, I'm not going to do it. But they're paying us like per member or per employee per month consulting fees or fee-based model, just to keep those education-based things going. So it is interesting, like when you talk about getting creative in what you bring to the table and not just being, okay, I'm a Medicare supplement swapper, or I'm an ACA plan swapper, or I'm a,
Been there,
because then you're
been there.
pigeonholing yourself to, what, and I'm not saying, for somebody to not find a vertical, like if Medigap shopping or, turning 65 Medicare is an initial vertical, that's great. Build a vertical, scale it hard and fast, maybe build a team or whatever, but scale it, create some residual revenue, and then think, how can I horizontally or vertically scale where I have another income stream, And so for us, that became like consulting agents, consulting call centers, and, and then we have our course sales and books. And so we're marketing in different ways, and all just feeds into the same thing. But I always called those like horizontal scales, where they're in the same vertical, they're in the same vertical. So I'm not like going to a different, industry altogether, although I do some of that, like with real estate, but it's not, I'm just saying, okay, hey, this is another way I can support more people within the same space. And some of those opportunities, if you get out and you meet people, you start, like that one with the stop loss insurers, that came from speaking at NAHU conventions and just meeting people. And, and I'm telling you, man, like you get into the NAHU conventions are full of group health guys, and they do a lot of their pay does come from fee-based already. It's not all just insurance commissions.
Right.
So, it's interesting, that it's a different mindset than a lot of the ones that I talk to, but it's something to, consider that, like you could say, hey, I'm a group health guy, I do Medicare, and then you could go in, and even group health guys will pigeonhole themselves sometimes, where they're just like, all I do is try to shop the group health and do the ancillary benefits. I don't do Medicare. Why not?
Right. And every time, like, and that's most people, in my opinion, especially on the group side, I'll say health insurance is like the most behind. So like because I was in group, I came over to start doing individual, and I thought I was getting ahead of everybody else. I was like, yeah, it's not that easy. Ads are expensive. SEO's not easy, not as easy as I thought. So I'm like, it's actually the people on the group side that could use all that. And so I think I can bring that skill set back. But yes, they do pigeonhole themselves. And a lot of them I talk to, they've hit me with like you need to just stick to one thing. You're a jack of all trades, master of none. I was just like, you just sound like you don't do anything in your free time. Yeah. I'm obsessed with this. Like I stay up all night researching stuff. Like I'm confident in what I'm doing, but you get that a lot.
You're looking for to let it. And I think that they're like, so if you say there's riches and niches, I mean, you could say that their risk management is a niche. I mean, you're not saying I'm going to buy a house tomorrow to rent out, and I'm going to flip a house over here later, and then I'm going to talk to some people about their group benefits, and then I think I'm going to start a t-shirt company. Yeah, that's too distracted and too far out, and you're not able to dive deep enough into one thing. But if you can think, macroeconomically about a niche, risk management, and then say, well, what feeds into risk management, and then just take that. I don't think that's necessarily spreading yourself too thin or becoming a jack of all trades. It's becoming a master of a broader niche rather than I sell med subs.
You kind of have to do that. Like, if you're going to be talking with people at the high levels, like you need to at least speak the language of different departments. Like, I don't really like doing accounting, but I know what everything means. I might not be able to, crunch the numbers is great, but like I can speak to them and talk to them on their level and talk, all the way down to, the entry level people.
Yeah. You can get into the accounts receivable terminology and all that kind of stuff. Because so if I'm running my own business and it's an insurance related business, I don't learn the same accounting, like my own personal accounting that I have to do. You learn some of the terminology, but then you get into one where they actually have an inventoried product. There's a different level of accounting. You're talking sales of product income and accounts receivable, and and the actual inventory itself is a different type of thought. And so if I'm going to be serving a business that does that, has that, I need to understand it, even though it's not really part of my business.
Right. And like that's where a good PNC guy could, like they would focus a little bit more on something like that.
Yeah.
Like they would know what all that means. Like my dad, he's a supply chain consultant. He knows about all that stuff. I don't know what he's talking about. Like I do, but like
Oh
I
man,
don't know
it gets crazy. Like when we go, because I've done some advisory board stuff for insurance companies, and just getting to the insurance company and understanding their thought process is different than the broker thought process. A lot of times you see these people putting stuff on the internet, and it's like, well, this is what's best for the client. This is what's best for the client. But you have to understand that it works both ways. Like, an insurance company going bankrupt would be good for some clients, the ones that were on the receiving end of the payouts, but the entire insurance company going bankrupt is not really good for the insurance world. So, I want to do like, how can I manage that risk in a way where I'm, partnering and trying to help an insurance company grow and manage their risk while trying to help the clients as well. And individual health is like the only part of insurance where they don't expect you to do any risk. Like they're not paying you on loss ratios. So, but like you get into PNC, you get into group health, even, they might look at some of that overall, because they're going to, and I'm not saying group health is necessarily paying you on it. I'm not sure if they do, but I know on PNC that they have bonuses.
Yep, they do
for, keeping your loss ratios down. But in health, we're just kind of like, oh, you have cancer, you need this. And I'm like, yes, I have to do, like, I have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they do the best. But I also want to understand the implication of maybe spreading that risk a little bit, because, if I say, like, if I have 10 Medicare supplement companies and they're all, in the top 10 of rates, and somehow I get 10 kidney dialysis patients that come in and open enrollment in a row, do I really want to stick them all with Aetna? Do I really want to stick them all with me? Like, I don't know. Do I value those companies? Because, if the rates are marginally different, maybe I spread that risk over them. That way I'm not screwing them all over. Now, some people might say that they throw it all at one company that they dislike, but that's a whole nother topic. So, but you do have to understand that I don't work for the company. I work for the client is a common thing that we hear in Medicare, but the company pays you. And so the 1099s have the company's name on them, not the clients. And so I have to make sure that I'm understanding that the value that I bring to the company is very important as well, and that should be a little bit of a balancing act that maybe tips a little bit in favor of the client, but because the big bad insurance companies are supposedly can afford it. But we need to understand that we're partners with both. So I would almost encourage people to quit saying, I don't work for the insurance company. And I'm guilty of saying this too, but I should say, listen, I am the seesaw between the two of you. We need the insurance companies to be strong, because when things like that have happened in the past, these massive, catastrophic economic solutions or pandemics or whatever happen, the insurance companies are the ones that get left holding the bill. In the Great Depression, the only completely solvent industry was the insurance industry. And it was because they were cash heavy, but they needed to be through that period. And so we have to understand that they're important as well. It's not just me helping the consumer versus the big bad evil insurance empire. So,
and that's where you get into it, right? It's like most people in it are salespeople, and they're just salespeople. And that's like who I'm usually talking to. They're not business people. Like, you got to get into the show me on paper, like show me, don't just tell me this is good for me, show me. And that's when you talk to people when it's business, which is why I kind of went back that route, is because it's just, I can speak that and it just makes more sense. Like,
when they know that the insurance company, a business person knows the insurance company has to make money too. Whereas sometimes I'm dealing with Medicare beneficiary, and the Medicare beneficiary is, he's got all kinds of jacked up problems. And so, like, we had one the other day, this happens like all the time, but like you got a guy, one of our agents helping a couple, and the husband is in really bad health. With the wife, we were able to rewrite and save money on her supplement. And the husband, you're telling, well, in your current health, I would stay right where you're at. And he wasn't paying some astronomical rate, but maybe it was $40 or $50 more a month than another one. And he's just sitting there, like, borderline crying, this ain't right what they do to Medicare beneficiaries. And I'm like, but you're covered and it's costing you extra $40 or $50 a month. But that individual, I bet, never owned a business or anything like that. So
was he in poor health, or it
was poor health, so he just couldn't be underwritten to save money over what he had. Like, it's not like his rate was so high that some substandard rating would have saved him money. But they say that kind of stuff like this. It ain't right that I have to pay 40 or 50. Whereas, an hour before we called him, he didn't even know that other rate existed and he was fine with it. But it becomes like a woe is me. I need the cheapest thing no matter what. Health shouldn't be a part of it. And you could get into arguing whether that's true or not. But I find that the states that have guaranteed issue laws anyway, the rates are just higher for everybody. So the insurance companies still have a number they have to hit, regardless of whether they use community rated, attained age, issue age, underwriting. All those are tools to try to balance like who pays what. But if you take the power away from the insurance company to do that, they're just going to jack their rates up across the board. So
it gets harder to be good at doing that kind of salesmanship when you start knowing all this, because like naturally I want to educate somebody like, well, here's why they're not doing that, and like it's like this. And so
and that's why in Medicare, what we end up having to say, the individual salesperson that's focusing on Medicare or individual health, a lot of times they end up just saying, yeah, I know it's it's a shame. It's not a shame. Like, we understand it, but do I get into educating them on it? And I want to, as being a teacher, tell you like, this is the way it is and this is why it is. But do I want them to be my enemy? I just want them to buy something from me. So, and so we end up saying that. And that's why it's the same thing like with politics, when people say, yep, thanks Obama or thanks Trump or whatever. And they just like, let's just pass the buck to those people, no matter what I really believe. Because it gets that hot potato out of my hands. But I hate that because, and so like what you're saying, when you're having conversations with people that understand, more often the middle ground there, that there's a business, transaction and conversation, and both sides have to make money. And it's okay that somebody makes money off of my transference of risk, just like it's okay that somebody manufactures a product for less than they sell it to me for. It is okay that somebody else makes a profit in something. It shouldn't always be about how can I weasel somebody out of something that I get a better, return on.
You see that quite often. And you see it also, maybe not just in business, but just like someone sees you getting something, you see it like with affiliate marketing, like use my link, get 50% off discount, but you're getting paid off that. Like, you're still getting a 50% off discount.
I know, exactly. Like, who cares?
But I got friends who would rather go find it from a stranger and use it. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm learning from that though. I'm learning from it.
Yeah.
So,
all we can do is we can learn, we can, there's information that makes you, get in my feelings or in my head. Like, how do I feel about that? Who cares? It doesn't really matter how I feel about it. How can I use it to improve the end result for myself ethically and, and legally? That's, I was having this conversation with some people yesterday. You just, that's how I'm always thinking, is not about how does X make me feel? How do I feel about, politics or blah, 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 or the way sales goes or the way a company's doing something. It doesn't matter. If they're doing it and they're allowed to do it, then, I have to navigate that to the best of my ability to make my team, my office, my family better off, and as long as I'm doing it legally and ethically, then that's all that matters.
Right. And that's just the role of leadership. Like, you just have to know, like, over time, like, it sucks at first when you're not used to having that criticism or maybe bearing that burden, but you just you learn. It's always nice to have mentorship. So people can tell you that that's going to happen. Yeah. So you don't let it take you off your course. So I think I've been blessed to have that in my life over my years. Like,
and it's graduating mentorship too, which brings up like this other topic that I'm dealing with now. Like, Sometimes you'll have a mentor that'll help you get somewhere,
Yep.
but then you'll outgrow that. And then you almost have to start looking for the next, level. And so sometimes the mentor that helped you in the beginning, it ends up being the one that tells you that you're becoming a jack of all trades now, a master of none.
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
Might not be true. Like it might be like, hey, you helped me learn this, but I'm moving. And I've dealt with that same thing, like where, because one of my early mentors would have been my dad, to some degree. There's things that I was learning from him, but then there was a graduating process where it was like, he's thinking much smaller than I am.
Yep.
And he's even known that now, because I've gone so far past it where it's like he comes back and he'll just say stuff like, well, you're real smart. You just keep doing what you're doing, but, and I'm sitting, and I'm not like in a condescending way, but, of course that helps me. That's like the best thing he can say now, is because I'm like, okay, he's giving me the confidence that, even though I think I'm on the right track, if he says, hey, you sound smart and I don't know, then I'm like, that's actually all I need. Is tell me that. Gives me that little boost, like, okay, I'm heading in the right direction, because he's not telling me to stop doing it anymore. But then as I mentor someone, I should know that. And I think I've even done this, like where sometimes I almost want to shut down, like, oh, don't do that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should be like, look, I don't know. Like, just because it's not what I would do in here doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. Now there are some things that are flat out wrong, but there are some things that, just because somebody's going in X direction and it's not exactly where I went already, doesn't mean that I should mentor them to not do that. So you and I should learn, as we're mentoring other people, to just be careful about, what we say to shut other people down.
I've come across those same like thoughts, and what you realize too is a lot of people, when they give advice, they're speaking off of their own experience. Like they tell you to do exactly what they did, but I mean, I think it's just natural for them to do that.
Yeah, they had infinite numbers of factors that went into them thinking that way, and and we have an infinite number of other factors that go into the way that we think. And so there's not on so many topics, there's not a yes or a no answer, or right or wrong. There's I don't know yet. I mean, honest, like, okay, just to give you an example, if I was Elon Musk's mentor, I would have been a terrible mentor for him, because I'd be like, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Nope, don't do that. But it'd be because I don't understand what the hell is in his head. It doesn't, it's different. He's, and so there, I'm sure he got told that a million times, by people like, oh, that's a bad idea.
I've kind of come to realize, like, it's kind of, because I've heard it in places like when you're reading books on, how to be wealthy, or, leveling up, you're going to hear stuff like that. You're going to hear these, just like in sales, you hear like the same 4 common, objections to something, right? It's the same thing. Like most people are the same. So I'm just, it's still, we're emotional, right? Like I'm as much as I've been accused of not being, we all are, unless you're a sociopath. But
I told somebody this morning, men are emotional. They're just handle things typically, or not all men, some are very emotional, but men just handle things more stoically. And so it, like, because I probably get accused of that from females, more of not being emotional, or not having that empathy, that default empathy. But sometimes I have the empathy, like I understand it. It's just
it's macro empathy, because it's like that the problem that they're upset about is like, I just couldn't see myself really being too bothered by that.
Right. Yeah, I completely struggle with that, and and showing it, and maybe I should show it more. I don't know, but it's not that I don't have the empathy, that it's an issue for somebody else. That's a constant try. I get accused of that a lot, but I think it's just because we handle things more stoically. Like we're saying, I'm taking that information and saying, okay, how can I put myself in a better situation?
Where's the empathy for how you're feeling about the situation, right?
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Everybody is, and I don't know if this is the right word, but like that ethnocentric, where they're seeing it from their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I get accused of not seeing it from their eyes, I'm like, yeah, but you don't see it from my eyes either.
So, right. Well, and that's like, I can't remember. I think it was hey, you know who Jeb Blunt is? You ever read his books?
I know the name for sure. I've probably read stuff.
I think he's from the South. I think he might be from,
Jeb Blunt.
he might be from Georgia. He got like, what's he got? I think he got a bunch of good sales books. I'm trying to find it. I know I got this one, like, I think this one right here. This is where he talks about it. I think Sales EQ.
Oh yeah. I definitely know Jeb Blunt. I just don't. I don't know if I've specifically read anything. I know I've at least read quotes and stuff from that and heard it referenced before.
He came and did a training for us, like for the Oregon, like top Aflac people. It was pretty cool. But he talked about empathy, like you got to have like the balance, because like if you're too empathetic, you get emotional about everything and you can't like push past, like you're worried about inconveniencing somebody or disrupting them.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be just too like competitive where someone, says something, you just jump right into, solution.
Then you're like capitalizing on people's, like there's a balance between like, capitalizing on, somebody else's situation, where you have this empathy versus, competitiveness. I was just at a conference where they were talking about some of this, and the empathy side, like I want to have empathy where, I can understand when somebody's got a bad situation and I want them to do better and I want to help them. And I want to be a person that, uses my wealth accumulation or influence accumulation to put other people in a better situation. And I think that's part of having empathy. You have zero empathy, you turn into a sociopath, like you said. But then I just want my competitiveness to be almost just a little bit more so that it can round out that empathy to be like, okay, but how can I take that information and put people that I care about and, people that I'm helping in a better situation, not at the expense of anyone else, because that would be the part where you're too competitive, but where it's not crippling you. So I'm assuming that's what he's talking about there, like that. You don't want the empathy to cripple your response to stuff.
Yeah. And like, men are typically less, but you can still like learn and develop some skills that comes from like communicating and like meeting people and knowing their tendencies. So like people repeat the same behaviors when things happen. You can change your approach. It's like, I don't know, it's all the stuff. A lot of shit is just is wordplay that you see in like the media. Like you see abolish the police here in Portland. It's like, well, it just is such an extreme statement that one side is all for it, the other side is like way against it. But it's like, I don't think that's what either side really means. Like, I think there really is the middle ground.
I think there's an extreme emotional response and an extreme logical response. And there's the middle, like, hey, like I understand you guys have some points, but neither side seems to be willing to come together on it, especially the irrational emotional side. They're so empathetic they can't even really see past their calls sometimes. So it sucks. But man, we got some heavy stuff. So I enjoyed, talking to you and enjoyed having you on. And I think you're taking a different approach that, could be very useful. And I could see areas where things that'll come up for me that I might reach out to you and collaborate on. If anybody else wants to, collaborate with you or get in touch with you or buy your book, where can they find you?
If you go to Amazon.com and you search Adam Westfall, I got 2 books up there. One is the digital insurance agent book, and then the other one is the retirement game plan book. And then if you go to my website, I got 2 of them, westfallinsurance.com. That's more that's my Medicare senior health website. And then my newer one is Westfall. It's actually just wfrisk.com. Or just, in your Facebook group or,
on Facebook.
I'm around.
Well, if you guys need anything or you think there's some overlap or questions you have, reach out to Adam. He's a cool guy. He's always been very responsive on Facebook to stuff, helpful, and he's pretty straightforward. So anything you ever need help with in his arena, I'm sure he'd be willing to collaborate. And go over and check out his book, guys, because I mean, honestly, You know, we buy all kinds of books and weird stuff out there, but for, you know, $10 to be able to buy 10, 15, $20 to be able to buy people's books on Amazon and support other people in the industry. I'm a believer in it. I buy pretty much everybody's books, and I don't know if I've bought both of Adam's. I have one of his here, but I'm going to go buy the other one right now.
Which one did you get?
I have the first one you did,
Okay.
the insure, the more insure, well, not the retirement one, the first one.
Yeah.
Because when I first looked you up, I went and found, before you even were talking about your publishing stuff, and I had talked to you about that earlier and got invited to your group. I had looked you up and saw that you had a book, and I did the same thing before I'd even talked to like Christian Brindle. I'd bought his book. I'm a book buyer. I bought all David Newport's books. Like some of them, to be perfectly honest, I'll buy with the intention of reading, and then they'll sit on my shelf. But I've been trying to, when I wrote one, I started respecting the process a little more. And so now I'm really going back and reading them. Like I just read Patrick Lencioni's book, and the process of getting engulfed in a book, like you learn more from that. And I think it's because the commitment that it takes to digest the information, you really learn it. Whereas you can throw on a YouTube video sometimes and burn through it, and you can pick up like one or two little things, but it's not, doesn't concrete it in the way that a book read is like an experience. So
if I'm reading like nonfiction, because I read 95% nonfiction. Like I'm taking notes at the same time. I probably read like at least 2 books a week. Usually business focused, but
when they say leaders are readers, and what do they say? The top CEOs in the country read 60 books a year or something like that. So
if you download the new app where you can read 100 books a day,
100 books a day,
I don't know. Like just take the main points, I think is what they're going to try and tell you to do. But no, that's one of my, like, I think as far as impact goes, just because you kind of set goals, and then you realize when you hit them, at least in my eyes, like when I hit them, I'm like, I should have shot for higher. Like when I wrote the book, it was #2 bestseller, and I was like, I wasn't thinking in that direction, but now I am. And so like it takes you to the next place. And so as far as impact goes, like people like us who do insurance or like real estate, other types of like consulting / like you do your own thing and you need to get clients. And like a book is a really unique way to do that. And I think a lot of people think it's out of reach for them, but it's actually not. There is a format to it where you can do it quickly, and then there's those tools that I've gone in and found where you can figure out how to make it a #1 bestseller, give yourself best chance. So my impact would, I'd like to hit a goal like helping 1,000 people become, bestsellers.
Yeah,
I think that'd just be like cool.
Well, if you're wanting to write a book, man, I don't think there's a lot of people more well suited for it that could probably help, and you'd actually get the proper amount of attention for than Adam Westfall. So you guys, if you're looking to write one and go about it the right way, hit him up. And Adam, until next time, brother, appreciate you.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye.